On today's episode, we'll meet the so-called AV nerd turned YouTuber who also found his love for hockey by following the Coachella Valley Firebirds.
You are Locked On Kraken, your daily podcast on the Seattle Kraken, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what do you say, Seattle hockey fans? Welcome to another episode of Locked On Kraken, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where we bring you your favorite team every single day. If we're meeting for the first time, my name is Erica L. Ayala. I've been your host here of Locked On Kraken since the very beginning, and we will have a special guest on today's episode. I'm super excited because as a content creator myself, this is actually someone whose videos I've been watching for years. And then within the last year or so, I realized that we had a mutual connection, and that is none other than the Coachella Valley Firebirds. Before we get into the episode with our special guest, I want to let you know today's episode of Locked On Kraken brought to you by our friends at Game Time. You know I love Game Time. I'm going to be on the road again. Some of you know why. We'll talk about that later. But if you want to find the best seats, the best prices when you are going to events, you have to check out Game Time. Make sure to download the app, create an account, and then use the promo code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. So without further ado, let's get into part one of my interview with Tom Buck. Welcome again to another episode of Locked On Kraken, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We're bringing you your favorite team every single day, and I have been pumping this one up for a little while. I'm super excited to have a special guest join us, Tom Buck, a Firebirds fan with a very unique background. I actually have known about Tom in the YouTube space for a while. And Tom, so grateful that you are joining us here on Locked On Kraken.
Oh, I've been looking forward to this all week. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, for sure. And, Tom, I kind of alluded to a little bit of your history, but for folks who maybe don't know, I just want you to open-ended question, who is Tom Buck? What are you all about?
Yeah, I guess at my core, I'm an audio video production nerd. That's kind of my thing. I was a high school digital media teacher for 11 years. And then 3 years ago, I left that to do YouTube full time. I started a channel. This is actually almost the exact 7-year anniversary of me uploading my first YouTube video. And
cool.
That just kind of grew and grew and eventually was able to make that leap. So I've been doing that full time for the past few years. And so that's kind of my thing, is teaching people how to, level up their audio and video production, especially for like one person solo things, podcast streaming, all that. And then this hockey team showed up where I live, and that has now also kind of taken over our lives.
For sure. We're going to get into that for sure. And I, again, have been watching your YouTube videos as someone
That's so crazy.
Yeah, it's really wild. No, I really appreciate your stuff. I've been dying to ask you about this because I feel like at least once every episode, we get what people might classify as a dad joke. Like, how much do you script those? Do you just go with vibes? I'm dying to know.
It's tough because, there's regular jokes and there's dad jokes, but I think it's really only when a regular joke becomes a dad joke when it becomes apparent.
Oh, there it goes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We got one on Locked On Kraken.
We got it.
I love it. I love that. We did not plan that, folks.
There was a brief time, which I'm glad you're doing this better than I could, but I was like, I could do a Kraken podcast, and I wanted to call it What's Kraken, but I feel like someone has to have taken that. But anyway.
Yeah, I think now, so Kraken are going to be on the Tegna network, and I think they might have scooped that one up.
I mean, they should.
Yeah, it's right
perfect.
There on the platter, you gotta go with it. Every once in a while, with What's Kraken.
The bad jokes are just kind of how my brain works, and so there's nothing. The joke to me is often how bad they are, not like look how clever this is, but it's like, because I used to do it when I was teaching. I would do like a joke of the day in every class, and my students would be like, "The joke's really bad," and I'm like, "You don't get it. The joke for me is how much it like hurts you to hear it. That's the win. I know the joke is bad.
It's fantastic. I really love it. And can you talk a little bit about just, it seems like joking is something that you brought, or bad jokes especially, is something that you
Yeah.
brought over from education. But as you mentioned, you started as an educator, YouTube came later, and now you're full-time on that side. But what are some of the things that are carryover from, Tom Buck, the educator, working in audiovisual in that sense, and Tom Buck, the YouTuber?
Yeah, I mean, it both situations just come down to connection. So it's you're connecting with an audience. When you're teaching, it's students, and that can be tricky because even if you're teaching something interesting, like taught an elective digital media program, kids chose to be there, but you're still dealing with teenagers. Their brains are swimming in hormones, crazy stuff happening, low attention spans. Like trying to make stuff interesting, get them hooked. You might not even know, like, hey, you're going to really like this, but they don't know that yet. And you have to kind of you have to give them a chance to give it a chance, which is a little tricky. And YouTube's not really that different. It's like you have people, they're choosing to be there, but there's the infinite scroll happening. They're trying to find something interesting. You might even know, like, I have something that's really cool for you, but I don't know, I have to use a thumbnail and a description and a whole video structure to like get you to understand that this is really cool and this is why. So there's a lot of carryover, but I think the core of it does just come down to connecting with the audience, like the person that you're trying to make the video for or teach the class for. And once you do that, then it's easier to fold in like other stuff, I guess, and the more technical things.
Yeah, I always appreciate learning from people who are in education. One, because before I got into sports media, I worked education adjacent. I was on the policy side of things, working in advocacy organizations that really fought for education justice. And so
Okay.
in there with the teachers, definitely holding it
Much
down.
appreciated.
Yeah, it's a tough job. And I have a lot of family also in education. So definitely want to give you a chance for that. But I also love what you're talking about. And, we talk about player development a lot on Locked On Kraken, especially now that we're going to have Dan Bilesma and Jessica Campbell in Seattle. And I really love that. You talked about kind of being an AV nerd. I am like a leadership development nerd. Like the Tuckman's model is my jam. Like I love that.
I love it.
Oh man. Okay. So before we move on, just from your unique journey, and everyone should definitely go follow Tom.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. Do it. I'm not doing the best job today. I'm on the road, and right before we recorded, my light went out. But suffice it to say that I have definitely been able to level up because of content creators like you, and the way you connect is just really fun and really great for people who are starting and beginning. So want to give you that, stick taps. Yeah, give you those stick taps. But in that world, in that realm, is there something that you found just really helpful when it comes to your approach that you think other content creators might find useful as they embark on whatever their journey is?
Yeah, sure. I think the thing which can be tricky is, and it sounds so basic, but it's like, be yourself, right? Like that's the most simple advice in the world, but it's not always easy to do that. And in content creation, whether it's YouTube or whatever, it's impossible not to look at what other people are doing and maybe to compare yourself, or you see, like, oh, I want to make I want to make a microphone review. Here's 5 other channels doing mic reviews, and this is how they do it. So that's how it should be done. And that might not work for you. And it's like, when I was teaching, a thing that I learned, when you start becoming a teacher, you have to be like a student teacher for a while. So you kind of like apprentice under someone. And I worked with an amazing teacher, like one of my good friends to this day. And he's an incredible teacher. And he has like a certain personality and a tone and a way of doing things. And it works really well for him. So I, of course, was like, that works. I will emulate that. And it did not work at all for me. I was doing the same things, saying the same things, like enforcing the same stuff, acting the same way. It didn't work. And it's because it came naturally to him. It didn't come naturally to me.
Right.
And so when I had my own classroom, finally I was like, I think I need to do what comes naturally to me, which he would have said, like, never do this. How could you do that? But that's what worked for me and let me like actually connect with my students. And content creation is the same way. Like what works for someone else might be just what works for them because of their entire life of experience that led that to being who they are. And your thing is different, and it's especially advantageous if you don't see other people doing it, because that means you're putting something unique out there, and that's what people are going to connect to, especially like something like I do, like I'm sharing information, like how to connect something, how to use something. Is this thing good or not? Like lots of other people can do that, but it's, hopefully I can package it in a way where it connects to some people in a really specific way. And that means it doesn't to others. People will find it and be like, I hate this. I never want to watch another one of these. And that's cool, because if they hate it so much, it means it's so specific that there are other people out there who will enjoy it. And fortunately, that does seem to have been the case. So, but I've been learning to play to fold in hockey a little bit. I've been learning to play goalie for the past year, and there's such a mental aspect to that position. And it is so good for YouTube. It's almost the same thing of like, you have to kind of steel yourself and keep things in perspective and like not kind of panic under pressure and all that stuff. Like not being afraid to be yourself and not panicking when it seems like you might be the only one doing something a certain way is a very important thing for any kind of content creator, I think.
I love it. In the words of Jimmy Dugan, that's good. So I absolutely love that, Tom. And yeah, you started to talk about the crossover in hockey. It was absolutely something that I noticed. And even though I had peeped
Good.
that you were a Firebirds fan about a year ago, when I saw you do the mic'd up, I was like, first of all, yeah. I loved that because I love mic'd ups. And the way that you did that video was so accessible. I was like, whoa, I feel like I could maybe pull this off. So I'm so eager to experiment. But also it was a chance to get to see you on the ice. So coming up next, Tom, I want to get into your hockey journey, specifically you playing hockey and integrating some of your passions and your purpose now and being able to educate people and how you've brought, as you said, hockey into the mix a little bit more. Today's episode of Locked On Kraken brought to you by our friends at Game Time. I tell you all the time that I travel a lot, and when I do travel and when I have some downtime while I'm traveling, I'm always checking out the Game Time app, because if I want to go to a baseball game, I can look at the view from my seats, make sure it's exactly what I want, see even if there's a little bit of covering if I think the weather's going to be bad. But also Game Time has flash deals. You can find zone deals, all kinds of really great stuff over at Game Time. And I think what I love the most is the Game Time guarantee. And I haven't had to use this personally, but if I find a ticket for a cheaper price, same section, same row, and of course, same event, then what I paid at Game Time, I get 110% of my purchase back. That's a pretty powerful guarantee from Game Time. And again, as someone who's used Game Time before, I've never had to use that guarantee. So it's time for you to take the guesswork out of buying, whether it's MLB tickets like me or tickets at all, by using Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Again, head over to your app store, download the Game Time app, create an account, and then use promo code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but again, just make sure you download that Game Time app for your last minute tickets at the lowest price, guaranteed.
Yeah, okay, so here's the funny thing is my wife and I have been together for 7 years. We've been married for 4. We met each other in 2017, and I think she tried to get me to go ice skating for like 5 years solid. I had been ice skating twice in my life prior, and the second time was like 10 years ago, and I had such a terrible time because I didn't know how to skate. Like, it was crowded. It was this like kind of dirty, small rink that doesn't exist anymore. And it was just kind of miserable. And like, I kind of went with sort of this random group where people were like not interested in like helping the bender like attach to the wall. And I was like, this sucks. Like, I'm an adult. I don't have to do this. I'm never doing this again. And so I met my wife, and she's constantly like, we should go ice skating. We should. No, never. I'm never going ice skating again. Then we go to Firebirds games. So this is like the end of 2022. And it's like, okay, we go to one game. That was really fun. We should go to another game, go to a lot of games, buy season tickets. And it's very quick, like, that looks pretty cool. Maybe we should go ice skating. And she already kind of knew how a bit. And she was patient. So it's like, she didn't mind. Like, we went to like an adult skate where there's, 10 people there, and you could just kind of like grip the wall and go. And it was like, okay, I didn't do great, but I wanted to keep going back and like, and then it just kind of snowballed from there into like wanting to learn how to play, doing some learn to plays as a player, and then like especially the Firebirds first season, Joey Decord, the little bobblehead back here, was our starting goalie.
Yes.
That's a really good guy to just get to sit and watch like multiple times a week sometimes and see at the practice rink, and just like you can't not like I feel bad. Half the time I wasn't even watching the rest of the game. I was just watching like Joey and what he's doing. And it's like I just want to try that. And I was so curious, like how do the pads work? Like how are they up on the front of your leg and then they're flat on the ground? Like I just didn't understand how any of the gear worked. I got so interested in it, and then I tried that out last summer, and it just became like quite the obsession. And
Wow.
that's it's been very, very fun.
I mean, honestly, I'm going to put you in full screen in a minute again, but knowing
Sure.
your setup from YouTube videos, I am not surprised at all that you were just kind of drawn to goaltending. Joey Decord was awesome in that first season with Coachella Valley. Obviously, as I like to say, we co-parented with the Florida Panthers
Yeah.
in the Seattle Kraken season 1, in Charlotte with the Charlotte Checkers.
Yeah.
But Joey really came into his own. So a few things that I want to point out. One is just the vibrant colors. So again, I feel like, of course, Tom's going to lean into the goaltending and the pads and all the gear. But you mentioned the bobbleheads. They're behind you. So we've got Fuego and Joy Dax back there.
Yep. I have Dan. He's out in the kitchen. Don't worry. And then we've got our my custom wood Winter Classic logo back there, which I had to move specifically so you could see it for this.
I dig it. Okay. And I mean, your journey into hockey, very similar to mine. And it sounds like we're both just curious people. It's like, how does this work? Well, what do you mean they have to? For me, it was like, what do you mean they block shots? Like, I don't want to get in front of that. Like, that seems crazy, but I love it. And yeah, one game, you go to another, you become a season ticket holder. I haven't gotten on the ice as a hockey player, not yet. I'm totally down to do it because I feel like that just takes it to another. I played some, some deck hockey. I even, I lost a toenail blocking a shot of all things. Blocking a shot, but I haven't gotten onto the ice yet. But I can skate. That's another question I get a lot. But okay, so you're into hockey, and it sounds like Joey Decord really had a pull in that goaltending position. So when you were doing Learn to Skate, was it immediate, straight to the net, straight to the crease, or did you try some other things out as well?
No, my very first Learn to Play, I got a concussion.
Oh my gosh, no way.
It was the first time I started learning to skate in January of 2023. So just like a year and a half ago. And April 2023, I took my first Learn to Play. Literally is the first time I'd held a stick on the ice. But it was like, our program has gotten so good since then, our local like Learn to Play program. This was one of their first ones. There were 30 people in the class. I was the only new one. Everyone else, even though they were new, they had been doing it like 3 or 4 sessions. Some of them had been like, they had, skated and played like previously when we had an older rink, the one that I hated. They had been there. And so I was the only person who was new, and it was just immediate, like, I not only got a concussion, I fell on somebody's skate blade and like hit my chest. Gosh. And it was rough. Like it was a really rough thing. And I was like, okay, I don't know if I can, I think I was kind of dumb for thinking I could do this. And my wife was like, okay, what she did. She's from LA. She did 2 Learn to Plays, one with the Kings and one with the Ducks. And she was like, you should go to those because they're free. And they're like very, very organized because they've been doing it for freaking years. And so I went to one with the Ducks, and it's only 3 weeks. So I just drove out there, it's like a 2-hour drive, but I drove out there once a week for 3 weeks. And it was like, wow, okay. It wasn't just me. I just wasn't in the right environment. So I did that. Then I just went I went through 2023. I was on the ice like 4 days a week, probably every week for the whole year. Like I really put in a lot of hours there. And then finally, like after a few months, I was like, I think I'm ready. Now I'm comfortable doing the Learn to Play again. I had found some other actual beginners, and the program had gotten a little more organized too. And so we jumped in. And it was like a 7-week session. And then week 3, I was like, can I try goalie? And they had these like, I don't know what year they're from, 1753 or something. They're like from the Revolutionary War goalie pads and stuff. And so I strapped those on, and that was kind of it. I was like, I have no interest in doing anything else but this now.
Wow. Wow, that's quite the story. I didn't know where we were gonna go.
I know. Sorry, we'll get there.
I didn't expect we like out the gate, like skate in the chest, concussion.
Oh,
Wow. So yeah, the love of hockey for real. Like that's real. You are hooked.
yeah. I've never been a sports person, which is like that's one. And this is maybe even like the more important thing here, which I think all the Firebirds are aware of, and I know Coach Dan is too. Is the area I'm at, like the Coachella Valley, as it says on the side of this arm right here. We've not had a pro sports team ever. Like I'm from here. There's never been anything like this, and I think it would have been cool to have any sports team. Anything. I kind of thought the arena was going to be basketball. I don't know why that's what I assumed it was when they were building it. And I was like, hockey, huh? Okay. But it also introduced so many people to this sport from this area who just, when else would we have ever gotten to play it? And so many people who had never played sports, never been interested in hockey, never done anything, like not only did that, but there's such a crazy, diverse, tight-knit hockey community here now, both people who just go to the games and people who play. And it's like, it's unreal. Like it has changed. My story is like, you could just copy and paste it thousands of times over because that's like the impact that it's had here, which is, it's awesome. Like it's genuinely life-changing.
Yeah, I love that. And I want to, in our final segment, talk a little bit more about your experience as a fan. Not only, of the Firebirds, but like you said, like this evolution of becoming a sports fan through Coachella Valley and being able to see your team go to the finals 2 seasons in a row. Like that doesn't happen for a lot of people. I'm from New York and I'm a Mets fan. Okay. So like, you don't always get that. Let me just let you know.
We've got our silver spoons. We know.
Silver spoons. I freaking love it. Oh man. But before we move on to that, I do want to ask you a little bit again about the blend between now you being in the Crease, you've owned it, you're in it. And then finding ways to create content for your YouTube channel and the mic'd up. So I'm assuming that you did some mic'd ups with yourself or your teammates prior to, but when were you like, you know what, maybe I should like make this educational video and kind of put myself out there and show folks what it is that I do, not just in the Crease, but also from, as you said, the AV side and the audio.
I always start a new thing and I'm like, oh, this will be a totally separate endeavor. And it always comes back. Like everything always ends up merging. I do have a second YouTube channel, which is very small and it's very like chaotic because it's just whatever I want. So it's a lot of hockey lately. And so there's some, player videos, mic'd up videos there, been doing stuff on Instagram. It just kind of seemed fun. Like it seemed relatively simple, especially as a goalie, because you can do the GoPro on the back of the glass. You don't have to be following a player back and forth 200 feet. So that kind of like, it just seemed more practical. And I just wanted to try it out. I have GoPros, I have microphones, I have different ways of doing it. So I was kind of piecing stuff together and it was really fun. And then I started doing it with other people too, because then, when I wasn't playing, I could grab like a nicer camera with a nicer lens and actually get some higher quality stuff. We could play around with wireless mics. And then I was just kind of thinking, I know there are videos about how to do this, but I didn't look any up and I hadn't really seen anything specific. And I was like, it's been, 8 months at this point that I've been doing mic'd up things. And I was like, I feel like I've developed kind of a good workflow for it. And one of them is really simple that works well for like a goalie. And the other is a little more complex and would be great for someone who wants to do a player. And it kind of would translate to other sports too. Like you could do the same thing in like football or whatever. I feel like there's a lot of carryover if you want to do anything mic'd up. And it was like, this is sort of a fun way to genuinely like, hey, it's audio video production, let's do it. It's also like a nice way for me to not forcibly inject some other personality and other interests into the channel where it, you can kind of see this other side. That's really fun and a cool way to connect. And it's one of those things too, the world of YouTube is so strange, especially like trends are a thing and new product releases. And you kind of notice like everybody in a niche will sometimes jump on a certain topic or a product or a controversy or whatever. And I was like, I just want to make this video about mic yourself up for hockey, like specifically. So if someone's scrolling through their feed, there's something that's just like out of left field and just makes why is this here? And you never know. And it's that thing of like, look, here's some ways to do it. Take it, like modify it, do your own version of it and just have some fun with it. And that has been cool. And the mic'd up thing, doing it, I just wanted to do it for fun. And as soon as I did it, like our local rink was like, can we share this on our Instagram? Can we do this? And then other people were like, hey, can you come to our game and do that? Can you mic up our team? And I was like, oh, this is like, it's a good community builder because
Yeah.
people don't know that things are even being said on the ice, much less like entertaining things that are happening or whatever. And it's like it is a really cool. There's definitely more people who want to learn to play in our area because they've seen normal people like them do these things, and like that just makes it even more accessible. So I think it's like actually kind of an important fun thing to do.
Yeah, it was actually. So again, I had noticed that you were a hockey fan, a Firebirds fan specifically for a while. But when I saw that video, I was like, all right, I'm sure he's got an email somewhere. I'm going to give him a
Yep.
shot and see if he'll come on the podcast because
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
now we're cooking with gas. So I'm
Yeah.
very grateful for that. And again, it's just something that I'm eager to try as I continue to expand my my what I do when it comes to sports journalism and sports media, which is of course
Yeah.
multimedia these days. You kind of have to be multimedia. So it's been a lot of fun to follow you. I do want to ask though, and you talked about it just now and again in that YouTube video, which we'll link there. Make sure you go check out
Sure.
Tom. He's so much fun on YouTube. But I'm wondering specifically for you, you said you were kind of testing things out for, it sounds like, about 8 months before you posted or
Yeah.
really kind of got the concept for that YouTube video. What's the most surprising thing that you have said while mic'd up that in the moment of playing you weren't thinking about, but then when you went to edit you were like, is this really me?
Uh, let's see. There might be some things that maybe needed to be bleeped out in a mic'd up that could happen. I think the thing that's funny to me, this is like it's so strange, is I realize when something like not crazy happens, I'm really loud. I'm like, oh, go here, do this, boom, like not today, like whatever. When there's like a big save to be made or something, I'm like dead silent. Like nothing happened. I'm like, it's so weird. At like the most exciting moments, I don't say anything. And then when it's just like, the slowest puck in the world is coming in and I can kick it, then it's like, like I'll make some goofy sound effect or sing a song or whatever. So I learned like when things are serious, I'm just quiet. And it's like, I wish I wasn't, because this is a good time for you to say something clever right now, or at least interesting, or make a sound. But yeah, so maybe that's the most surprising one. It is really fun to hear the refs' comments, because they usually don't know that I'm wearing it. And they come over and like, especially after a thing, like there was someone did like a one-timer and it got through the net, and he was like, the ref was like, I don't know how he got that through. He was closing his eyes when he shot. And I was like, maybe I should close my eyes when I catch then. I don't know.
That's really funny. Yeah, as you were speaking, it reminded me of like, that old adage that you sometimes see made fun of in movies or stuff like that, where someone's like rocking out, they're driving and they're just like feeling it. And then they go to parallel park and it's just like,
Yeah. Yeah.
music all the way down.
Yeah. I need to turn the music down so I can see better. Like,
yeah, which I don't know, these days might not even be a thing, because now people just use the reverse screens or whatever.
Oh my
I'm
God,
old
yeah.
school though. I'm like, I know the curb test. I know how to use the windows on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm from an area where we do not parallel park, so it's like I've done it like
do
4 times in my life, and my wife laughs at me all the time because she's from LA, so she like that's the only way you could park.
That is so funny. All right, well we're gonna get you out of here, but before that, I really want to again get your reflections on the first 2 seasons of Coachella Valley, and some honest thoughts. We've had JD on the show before. He, of course, is the PA voice of the Coachella Valley Firebirds, also a member of the Locked On Podcast Network with Anaheim Ducks, actually. And so I've gotten a feel from his perspective on what it feels like, the bittersweetness of not one, but now 2 coaches coming to Seattle. But I'd love for you to chime in there as well, Tom. So that's what we're going to talk about coming up on Locked On Kraken. Passion, drive, and patience. That's what it takes to win a championship, but that's also what it takes to keep your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, LED kits, whatever you need. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, you'll always find exactly what you need every time at eBay Motors. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you're going to find what you're looking for at eBay Motors. And with the eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber and not cash. So if you want to make it easy to keep your MVP on the road, then you need to get over to eBay Motors to find huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available for U.S. customers. Tom, it has been a delight to have you on. And I don't know, we might have to see if we can collab once again down the road.
Oh, yeah.
I especially am eager to see how the Firebirds are going to do in season 3. But let's just talk about it. All right. You know,
Oh, yeah.
What were your thoughts and feelings after season 2, especially knowing that it was the last ride for Disco Dan?
Yeah. First off, you might have to cut me off. Like I am here as long as you need me here. So feel free to wrap it up. It is, I mean, we're incredibly lucky. And I didn't know Dan's history. He was just the coach. And then you kind of get to know that. And Jessica really stood out, and she, like, there were like groups of little girls dressed as her for Halloween, like in a cool, like, power suit way. And they're all like lined up behind the bench. Like, she has done so much.
That's adorable.
She's just done so much.
Thanks once again for tuning in to another episode of Locked On Kraken. I really enjoyed talking with Tom. I'm going to have more from our conversation with Tom, but that little nugget about the Halloween game and, you know, young girls dressing up like Jessica Campbell, I mean, that's pretty cool. I cannot overstate how excited I am to have Dan Bylsma and Jessica Campbell in the organization and to continue that now with the Seattle Kraken. But we'll hear more from Tom. And again, later in the week, as I will be traveling, as some of you know, I'll be first in the UK and then in Paris for the 2024 Summer Olympics. So we'll have some pre-batched stuff for you, more from Tom Buck, and then also some analysis from our friends over at Locked On Hockey Prospects about some of the Seattle Kraken picks. So we will be back with new episodes, and hopefully we can get a few interviews scheduled. Still working on some of that, but I'll keep you posted. In the meantime, in between time, you know what we do. Be kind to yourselves, be kind to one another, hold fast, stay true, and we always say loud and proud, let's go Kraken. I will catch you on the next episode. Peace out, everybody.